Back for another day of fights, another day of fights, another day of fights. But me, as usual, I'm in my house. I've got books behind me, a little thing of Rocky in the back, a little thing. Where are you? You're not at home.
Nice touch.
Yeah.
No, this is a special edition episode. This is an on the road.
On the road. Not with Jack Kerouac, with Brandon Olivas. Tell us where you're at, what you're up to.
Yeah, I got the late notice call. I got the late replacement to be a cornerman at the UFC in UFC 270 in LA.
Do you think I have any idea what numbers we're at this point?
I just threw a number out hoping it would stick. Whatever. Ciryl Gane and Francis Ngannou. I'm cornering Vanessa Demopoulos. So I am in LA in the hotel room, and here we go.
All right, you guys, but before we get to the main card, the fight this weekend, this Saturday, make sure you guys like our channel. Please subscribe to us, share us with your friends. And, if you want to see all of our actual picks for the fights, check out our Patreon link below. Or even if you don't want to see our actual fights, I think we're doing a great show. I think we're killing it for you guys, making good picks. A lot of people have said they've made a lot of money off of us. So definitely, hit up our Patreon. But you're also going to get Brandon's regional picks, which LFA, even Bellator, ex-MMA, all of the smaller cards, CFFC, he runs through those, gives you the picks for the week so you don't have to. And then Brandon and I also give our actual bets. So we go over every fight on the card. We think who are going to win, who's going to lose, all of that stuff. It doesn't mean we're betting it. So we give you our actual bet slips, our picks on the Patreon. And last week we killed it. So hopefully you guys can kill it too. So check us out. And now let's get into the show. All right. I will see you Saturday. I'm not heading out until Saturday. I had plans with my son for 6 months to go to a concert on Friday. And if the UFC told me that I couldn't do it, that I had to be there on, Friday early or something, I would have absolutely gone. But they said, nope, you can go Saturday morning. So I will see you Saturday morning. Until then, I'm still at home.
That's strange with all the rigorous testing and you being so anti-vax that they'd still let you do that.
It's crazy. It's crazy that they would even allow me in the place at this point.
Very, very excited. Very cool to be here. Man, this event just feels so big. It just feels big. We started off going down to the poster signings and the check-ins, and in walks Francis Ngannou, and man, the guy's just massive, and it just feels so big. It's a cool event.
Right now with you were at a UFC earlier this year with Camuela, and it was at the Apex, and it just kind of feels like you're showing up and you're sparring, and then you're kind of fighting-ish. It's on TV-ish. The live events, especially right now, especially during COVID, are exciting. They are fun, especially as fighters, as cornermen. I love to be – you're going to see it all week. There's going to be people at the hotel downstairs with posters waiting outside the hotel, and anytime a name comes out, they're going to be clamoring to them, asking them to sign stuff, to take pictures, to do stuff. I mean, they just love it. I love the energy. I love the energy of the hotel. Walking in the big arena. Where are we at? The Honda Center? Is that where we're at over there?
Yeah.
So just when we get to the fights, I mean, you're going to walk in, there's going to be production, there's going to be people, there's going to be stuff. It's a big event. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of energy. And then, of course, walking out, even though, Vanessa's going to be an earlier fight, there's going to be a crowd. And it's just so much more fun as a cornerman, as a coach. I love it. I love the energy. I think
just for me, man, I don't get starstruck. I mean, we've been around a lot of top level fighters for a long time, but it's so weird. I get starstruck with the guys that I just respect and look up to so much. So for example, we went down to go get a little workout in, and Rayoni Barcelos was behind us. And I'm like, man, I saw Francis all day. It is what it is. And Rayoni's down here. And I'm like, man, I wanted to take a picture with him, get an autograph. I mean, that's somebody that I look up to. So it's cool just to be around this much talent and this much star power. Like I said, it feels big. And that's before the crowd and the fanfare. This is day one.
That's just with the fighters. It feels big. It really is. It's a lot of fun. You see those guys and like looking at Ngannou, you think you see him on TV and you're like, that's a big human. And then you see him in real life and you're like, that's a huge human.
Oh my God.
That's a massive individual. I mean, and you just see these guys. They're just larger than life. It's fun. It's fun. I love the experience. You get to meet the coaches and the fighters, and you get to interact, and it's just a lot of excitement over there. So I'm happy that you're there. I'm happy that, you know, you don't have COVID, because her last cornerman, Kyle Estrada, had COVID, and you're going to keep her in line and check and ready to go beat somebody up on Saturday.
We're going to just preach the Bible all week, guys, all week.
That is it. And the Bible always reigns supreme when it comes, not always, almost always when it comes time to betting fights.
Now, it certainly did reign supreme last week, didn't it, with Calvin Kattar?
100% it reigns supreme. We call that to a T. You know, I think a lot of people in the know called that. I think a lot of people like, see, the thing is, people are not starstruck. They're finish.
Wowed by knockouts.
They're wowed by knockouts or wowed by finishes. And generally the finisher is going to get the better odds. They get the better bets, versus the guy that does all of the stuff right and goes the distance. And Calvin Kattar does all of the stuff right. His coaches and cornermen game plan that perfectly, the way that he switched stances marching in. So it really threw off Giga's ability to throw those kicks by crowding, but marching. Beautiful game plan. He's as tough as it gets. You know, I love to fight. And, you know, again, we both
fight IQ and cardio.
Yeah. Yep. That's it. But yeah, even yesterday, as you were on Embedded, you were on the UFC Embedded, and we were actually doing mitts, and we were talking about, I don't know if it was before, it might've been after we did mitts, and we just talked about that is what we talk about. It's not doing anything flashy. It's not the combo. The combo and everything will come. All of the most amazing people that do all the most amazing stuff, they all start with their basics, the good ones. And as long as you're firing your hands are back at your face, you're in your hips, you're ready, you're on balance. If those things happen, then you can do anything you want. And you're not going to go throw a flashy strike or a flashy combo until you read the room, until you read the moment. You see it, you see the setup, and then it goes. But none of that is possible without the basics. And that's it. It really is. It sounds boring, but boring is good. You know, boring is, you see a shark jumping out of the water. It does one thing, but it does it well. And you got to appreciate perfection.
Hey, really quick, just talking about that Embedded. It's funny. I show up to the gym one time and I get on Embedded just that quick. It was amazing. But for you guys that watch the show, go let us know if you can spot us in the video. It's on today is Tuesday. It came out today. So go in the comments. Let us know if you can find where we're at. But you are 100% right about the basics. And Vanessa asked me earlier if I'm good at holding mitts, and the answer is not really. I can hold for ones, twos, really basic combos. But one thing I've learned with you over all this time is, we look for things. It's your range, it's your balance, it's how you throw the punch, it's where your hands and your chin are. And am I some crazy mitt holder like Mayweather's gym? No, absolutely not. But I know how to hold mitts like I'm fighting somebody, and work on the basics, work on the ones and twos. And I think that's what's important, and that's what wins fights. And
more importantly than knowing how to hold mitts, you know if she's doing something wrong. You know if something is wrong, and you know how to throw a punch back at her to make sure that she's ready and engaged in case something comes flying her way.
You crack me the other day. I almost went out. Woof.
I did. Those are some hard mitts. We've got fights though. We've got a really good card. Last week I wasn't wowed by the card in terms of like a lot of fights for picking winners. This one, I love a lot of these spots on the card. Not only the over and the unders, but the actual winners, these actual fights. I really like these fights. I really can't wait to, what sucks though is I don't believe that we're going to be able to watch the fights after we were there. So,
we are.
Are they going to allow us to go and actually watch the fights? Because the last few, they have not.
Not at the stadium.
Yeah, they usher us right back to the hotel. Yep. So
we get a free pay-per-view, but we don't get to stick around.
Do we get a free pay-per-view?
Yeah, it's going to be on the closed circuit of the hotel.
Oh, okay. Well, that's interesting. Yeah. So we will be there. Figuerdo will be there, who was there running camp with us. I'm not in the corner with him, but he was with us for 9-10 weeks, something like that. So we've got him. We've got Vanessa on the card. Should be a good one. And then we've got Pete Rodriguez on the card too. He might be, at least on Tapology's on the fight card right here. We don't know if he's the first fight of the night, but he is listed as the first fight that we're going to go over right here. We have Jack Della Madelena.
Della Madelena.
Madelena. And we have Pete Rodriguez. And when I saw this, I was like, no, that's not Pete. Sure shit, it's freaking Pete. And then
that's Pete Rodriguez.
That's Pete Rodriguez. You have fought on EAFL cards with him a couple of times.
Two times.
Two times. And he's been on Iron Boy card here. We know Pete. We know his coach. Super nice guy. He's going down in a weight class. He was fighting. The dude's like, I think they list him at 5'9" or 5'10". He's like,
he's my height.
He's 5'7".
5'7".
Yeah. He's not tall. He's definitely not 5'10". So he was fighting at 185 and he was tiny. And I remember the first time I met him, the first time he's on a card with us, and I was like, yeah, this guy's going to get killed. He just goes out there and knocks somebody out. I mean, just swinging. And he's 4-0 as a pro, all in Icon, which I think is in Florida these days. And I think his he's 4-0, all knockouts. I think his longest fight is 1 minute.
Hey, by the way, just side note, Icon is in Mexico. It's a Mexican promotion.
Is it in Mexico? Okay, that makes more sense.
Thus the Mexican flag and every Mexican fighter. But continue.
I don't know. I don't know flags or states, countries at this point. So, okay, so I've learned that Icon is Mexican, but I've also learned that Jack Della is Australian, New Zealandish. And
yes,
I mean, normally we talk about stuff, we go over all of that good stuff. I freaking love this guy. I love him. He is clean. His striking is clean. He will throw. He is just a really good boxer. You can tell that he trained with a really, really, really good boxer, or at least boxing coach. And what we're talking about, his 1s and 2s, he is just sharp, right down the middle, on balance. He reads stuff well, but then he switches stances. And this is the weird part. Generally, when people switch stances, they do a couple of things from one stance, and then they go back to their normal stance, and then they do their standard fighting. Like I know myself, when I would switch as a southpaw, I would really just fire a left middle kick and then kind of, maybe I go low, but it was really based off that left middle kick. Della does all of the same stuff. He switches stances and just fires sharp 1-2s right down the middle, just as if it was his natural stance. And he is just really, really clean. He doesn't really make mistakes. I think he lost his first 2 fights, right? And then he lost, and then he's won everything since. He's got, out of his 10 wins, KO, punches, KO, TKO, rear naked choke, punches, doctor stoppage, strikes, punch, 1 decision against Angelusa or Angeluso, however the hell you say that, in which he just completely dismantled him and
mauled
picked him apart.
Him, yep.
Just mauled him. And on the other side of that, you have Pete Rodriguez, who's all of his 4 wins are, first round, first minute, knockouts. And then even all of his amateur fights, he lost 1 decision early, and then he lost a rear naked choke later. And I mean, he's got like 10 stoppages as an amateur, 4 stoppages as a pro. And Rodriguez is a brawler. I mean, you know that. And he's going to come out there swinging, throwing heaters, but dude has dynamite in his hands. What's your take on this fight? What do you got here?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I could not be more happy for Pete. My last fight, we spent all week with Pete and his coaches. I was just cracking them up the entire time. So me and Pete are friends. He's actually a fan. Every time I post something on Instagram, he's always replying to it, being super supportive. So I told him, hey, I'll see you out here. That being said, business wise, he's got a handful here. And it's no knock against Pete at all, but I mean, I think Jack is in an amazing spot here. Jack is just that good. First of all, I think the size difference is going to be a lot. Like we said, Pete has dynamite in his hands, but his level of competition has been somewhat low, not only as a pro, but also as an amateur. And we really haven't seen him much outside the first round. So these guys, like we just talked about, with Giga is a world-class kickboxer with hundreds of kickboxing and Muay Thai fights, and he had that pre-fight hype with the knockouts. Pete is fighting Mexican nobodies in Icon, and he's putting them away as he should, and probably more impressively than he should. That being said, we've never really seen him outside of a first round. We've never seen him against somebody even remotely close to Jack Della Madalena's level. And Jack, like you said, his boxing is incredible, but the thing that just wowed me the most was his distance management. It's just beautiful. You mentioned something a few weeks ago. It's the eyes. And I've been using that because there's a delineation, but his eyes are beautiful. The way that he sees everything, he sees it coming from a mile away. And when you have a brawler like Pete, he's got the puncher's chance. He can always clip him. And like you said, he hits so freaking hard. I think that the Jack's eyes are going to be the difference in this one. I think he picks him apart. If you don't want to pick a winner and because you're nervous of what could happen, just choose the fight doesn't go the distance. I think that's a pretty safe assumption here.
The fight is absolutely not going the distance. That is the easiest play on the card. Easiest play on the card is that fight doesn't go the distance. But now I see Pete going out there, swinging for the fences, adrenaline getting him, fading out about the 3-minute mark if he's not already on the ground, and then just getting TKO'd probably late in the first round. I don't see it even getting out of the first round, but I definitely see him swinging and missing a lot, and then just getting picked apart. Just Jack Della is just solid. He's not only is he solid, I expect big things out of him in the future.
He does everything right. The only knock he might have is cardio down the line. And he reminds me of a guy like Rafael Fiziev, where for the style that he fights and his build, his cardio is actually pretty excellent.
Yeah, it's not bad for the style that he fights. And he's just getting started. That is going to get – it's not like he has these horrible cardio issues at all. Mm-mm. So
nope,
we're going to see him getting better and better and better. So I like that. I think it's an easy spot on the card. Take the under and take Jack Della for the win. He is at – where am I? Just saw his odds. He was minus 335. Rodriguez is plus 255. We'll see what the odds come out once props start. Usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday come in, and but you're going to get some solid odds on that one.
Now this next one, I cannot wait to discuss this one with you.
Man, is that? Do you have Ilia Topuria and Charles Jourdain?
Let's get into it. So first of all, a couple weeks ago, Jourdain fought Ewell, and you were not very big on Jourdain initially. And I was a little bit more complimentary of him. I think leading into the tape, I didn't think he was as bad or as sloppy or as made as bad of decisions as you thought back then. He looked great against Ewell, completely picked him apart 3 rounds. What do you like about Jourdain in this fight that's different than the last one? Well, let me ask you something, if that's okay. What do you like about Topuria? What is the best thing about Topuria? What has he shown you that has just been like, wow, this kid's like no other?
I don't know if I would say one is over the other. His fight IQ is solid, and he does not make mistakes. Like, he's striking all of the stuff that you want to see out of a striker. He is there. And the biggest thing about this, and this is, we talk about it all the time. If you're ready, you're good. It doesn't matter. If you're not ready for something, somebody could come up and like touch you on the forehead and knock you out. If you're ready for anything and you're just not falling asleep, anything on the planet can come your way and you're ready to handle it. We saw that with Youssef Zalal. Zalal is throwing, he would throw these skip knees right off the bat. And Topuria did not flinch and threw a check hook. I don't know if you call it check hook, a lead hook at him, just right off the bat. Did not jump away, was not moving, wasn't even phased. And then I don't remember if it was Zalal or somebody else threw a wild spinning head kick at him, and he didn't flinch because he was setting his hips, he was engaged, he was ready to go, and he saw it coming a mile away. And not anybody else, but a lot of other people would have been hit by both of those things or startled or moved. He was not phased because he is always engaged, ready, active, hands up, chin down, ready to fight. He doesn't do what we call the MMA shuffle where he's engaged, he throws, and then he kind of pitter pats on the outside and is out. Then he resets as he comes in. He is ready. He hits like a truck. He's got great body work. He comes upstairs well. I actually, the knock that I have on him is I don't think his wrestling is as good as I thought it was before. Now, when he does get the fight to the ground, which I think he will, he does a really good job of controlling the head and arm position. The other knock that I have on him is that he jumps to a guillotine. He sits into it. Not even a guillotine. More of a Walsh choke. He'll go anaconda, which isn't really the end of the world, or he'll go Walsh choke, which is kind of an arming guillotine, but across the body as opposed to around your own body. Now, the thing, though, is that when he doesn't get it, he comes back up on top. And if he slides off, he does not stay on his back. He immediately comes right back up to his feet. He makes all of the right moves. He does all of the right stuff. He hits the body well. He is not struck by these crazy things. And I do like Jourdain, but again, I think he's just too wild. I think he's a more dynamic version of Youssef Zalal, and I don't think he's going to get caught with anything. And we got to remember that Zalal fight, that was his Topuria's first fight in the UFC. So, and he has just looked a little bit better. We saw him we actually don't have a lot of tape on him. We saw him just starch Damon Jackson. We don't. And we saw him beat up Ryan Hall. But what we saw the most of was Zalal. And Zalal and Jourdain are very similar in, I would say, in awkwardness, standing. They move a lot. They do a lot of flying stuff and a lot of spinning stuff. I think Jourdain is going to get taken down. And I think he's going to get tired out. He's taking this fight on a week notice. He's probably been drinking for 2 weeks after that Ewell fight. And I love Topuria here. I love him. I think the better fighter wins this.
Oh my goodness. I cannot wait to go the other way on this one. And you know, it's crazy because how long have I talked to you about Topuria? And I kept saying, oh, this kid's going to be the champ. Now I'm the hipster kid. Now that everybody else found out about him, I'm out. But here's the deal. When I was watching, I just watched the Zalal fight a few different times. First of all, watching the Zalal fight just made me realize how talented Zalal is and how he might have the worst fight IQ in the UFC.
Horrible.
The guy is supposed to be he's supposed to be some crazy Moroccan striker, and he refused to even throw any strikes on the feet. All he wanted to do was wrestle and sit to guard and get taken down, and he looked horrible. I'm watching Topuria in that fight, and I'm going, what is he doing well? And he's like, taking the back and hitting these transitions. And then I'm looking back at Zalal, who's just sitting there. Zalal didn't try to stand up. Zalal didn't try to defend his back. Zalal did nothing. It just looked like Topuria was using a grappling dummy. And I'm watching that and I'm going, okay, I'm really I'm less impressed with Topuria here. And I'm more just really disappointed with Zalal, who won't throw punches, who won't even try to defend a takedown, who doesn't try to get out. He does nothing, just a grappling dummy. Okay. Now fast forward to the Damon Jackson fight, right? Who Damon Jackson would give Topuria a much better look on the ground and with the wrestling and the transitions, but he's not a striker. Topuria's got great hands. And then we fast forward to the Ryan Hall fight, which that's just a tough fight altogether. Topuria's got enough jiu-jitsu to avoid it and heavy enough hands to put him out. So I think you're 100% right here. We don't have much tape. The only tape we have really is the Zalal fight. And what I saw in the Zalal fight, I think you're right. In frame, Zalal and Jourdain are very, very similar. But I think man, you're right. I went back and I watched a lot of Jourdain's fights, and his fight IQ is not as bad as I had thought it was. He does do a lot of jumping, spinning stuff, which I could do with a little bit less. But if you watch his recent fights, we got Mr. Eddie Cha coming in.
Oh, snap. The man, the myth, the Cha.
Is that Santino, the Franco, the Wizard?
What?
What's up, Coach?
What's cracking?
We got all the stars coming in. All right. Yeah. So the one thing that I'm watching with Jourdain, he reminds me of like Joseph Valtellini, right? The Glory kickboxer, a fellow Canadian. He's throwing leg kicks off of people's entries every time they step forward. But what I love is he's keeping his hands high. He's gotten so much better at defending himself, keeping a high, tight guard. And in the Ewell fight, man, that guy, he can just fight 3 hard rounds and he doesn't seem to get tired. And even if he does, he pushes through. Whereas round 3 with Topuria and Zalal, we saw Topuria get really tired, get pushed up on the fence, and he threw a last-minute takedown. And that was all he had, you could tell. I like Jourdain. People cannot hold Jourdain down. He throws crazy leg kicks. Topuria doesn't check him very much. But he wears on guys by never stopping coming forward. He reminds me of like a Robin Van Roosmalen who used to wear guys out in glory. I love Jourdain as an upset here. The fact that the odds are minus 700 for Topuria seems insane to me.
See, I don't think it does. Remember, Zalal took that, not Zalal. Yes, Zalal, but we're talking Topuria here. Topuria took that fight with Zalal, which was his first UFC fight, on less than a week notice because Choi had to pull out. I mean, he took that fight on a week's notice in Abu Dhabi. I mean, and fought 3 solid rounds. Man, I think you're being too hard on him. A week notice, your debut in the UFC in Abu Dhabi under weird conditions, and I thought he looked great against Zalal, who was on a 3 or 4 fight win streak, and just starched him. Not starched him, but just, you know, really had a good dominant win over him. I don't think we've seen even the best out of Topuria yet, and I think people talk about his grappling. That's kind of what he's known for. I think his hands are really going to be
way better.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I think his grappling is good. I don't think he has the wrestling to match the grappling, the jiu-jitsu. So I think once he starts getting better cage wrestlers, there's going to be some issues with him. But his hands are solid. And I like Jourdain. I just don't like him here on the spot against Topuria.
I can't wait to come back and be right about this one. I love Jourdain. I love the pressure. It's very rare Ilya has somebody walk him down. He's always the one walking people down, and Jourdain is just game as hell. He's going to stay in his face, and he's going to tire him out, and he's going to put him out in the third. This is how it's going to go.
All right, so just in September of this year, Julian Rosa took Jourdain down multiple times in that just throughout the fight. In the 3rd round, Jourdain was so tired and just got darsed.
Fine.
Man,
that's old him.
I just don't see it. That's true. That fight was a long time ago, 3.5, 4 months ago. Man, I mean, I don't even know why I'm bringing it up. So
now he's Spartan kicking Ewell and screaming in his face with a bloody nose. Come on.
Which I do love. All right. Next up, we've got our girl, Vanessa Demopoulos and Silvana Juarez. We talked about this last fight, or last show. Go take a look at it, you guys. Brandon's over there with her now. That's what I got. She looks great.
Yeah, bet the house on Silvana.
She looks great. Super happy with her performance. Super happy with her camp. The fight was supposed to happen last week. I actually got COVID, so there was a chance that I wasn't going to be able to go out there with her. Later on that day, we find out her opponent has COVID, Juarez, and so the whole fight got pushed back. So fortuitous as it is, we're there in LA, and well, you're there in LA. I will be there in LA, and so go take a look at that. And I don't know if it's really worth hashing too much about it. And I think this next fight too is kind of the same. We've got Raoni Barcelos against Victor Henry. We talked about that quite a bit. With me, I don't think anything has changed. I think Raoni wins this fight easily. I think it's probably going to be a stoppage. If you guys want our full breakdown on that, go back. There's two podcasts ago. I think that's
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
That was supposed to be the last card of 2020, correct?
Let's just touch on it really quick.
Okay.
Rayoni may be one of the best fighters in the UFC. I actually just saw him in the hallway when we were going to go work out with Vanessa. Man, first of all, let me say this. He's got like the blonde hair now.
Oh.
It's like blonde Brunson. You can't lose when you got the blonde hair. So the fact that I already think he's one of the best fighters in the UFC, he checks every box. He can wrestle. He was on the Brazilian national team wrestler. He's a coral belt in jiu-jitsu and a very good one.
He's
incredible
a coral
boxing,
belt?
amazing calf.
How long has he
They
been
say, or is God, the guy might be 85. I don't know.
Yeah, don't you have to be a black belt for like 74 years before you're a coral belt? I've been a black belt.
I think the announcers keep.
I think I've been a black belt. I got my black belt. Geez, I don't even know. Was it 2012 maybe? I think so-ish. And I'll be getting my third degree coming up here in February. So I feel like he's like
I think
17 degrees
I think his
behind.
dad is a coral belt.
Okay.
Yeah, I think his dad is a coral belt, and the announcers mess it up because that doesn't seem right. But high-level jiu-jitsu, he's very good. You can tell.
Okay. He is.
Amazing calf kicks.
Wrestling is good. His striking is great. We've talked about this before. The big knock on him is he's injury prone. He's getting a little bit older too. He's been out with a lot of injuries, man. If he was healthy 2 years ago, he would have fought for a belt already. He just really does all the right stuff. Victor Henry is kind of a jack of all trades. You know, he doesn't really make the best decisions. He's tough. He is tough. He spent most of his time.
He hangs out till people mess up.
Yes, he really does. We saw that with the Kyler Phillips fight. He was getting beat up every which way. Kyler gasses horribly. And Victor Henry, you know, just kind of put it on.
All right.
Yeah. Other than that, bet Rayoni. Honestly, it's been a while since I watched tape. I forget if we said the bet the over or the under. For you Patreoners, we'll make sure that we put our actual bet if we're, you know, what we're throwing down for you guys before the fight comes, but we'll go through. But Rayoni wins this unless just, you know, a banana peel comes out and, you know, he slips on it on his way to the cage.
All right. Next up, we have Jasdavicious versus Kay Hansen.
Okay, so I have something to say about this one. I didn't watch tape on it. There were so many fights. I was looking at this. I was like, man, I like Kay Hansen. You know, and she's tough. She's been in the UFC. And I'm looking at Yasmin, and I'm like, wow, she's gorgeous. And that's pretty much where I stopped. So this one's on you. I'm not lying over here. I'm not going to tell you, oh, here, listen to me and BS about a fight that I didn't tape. I don't want to do that and make it sound like I'm an idiot or, you know. So why don't you run on this? And hopefully you guys, Brandon is right.
I also did not tape this one. I have taped both these two a lot in the past, but it's been so long ago, I wouldn't even be doing justice to give you guys an opinion on this. I will say I've always been impressed with Kay Hansen. I think she's pretty solid everywhere. She's got decent hands, decent wrestling for a girl, and pretty good jiu-jitsu. I think she's solid. She's a bulldog. But the thing that always trips me up with the women is the tall girls, right? Jazz is first of all, I just saw Jazz, and you're right. She's gorgeous. Oh my goodness.
Right.
And then she comes out with this French Canadian accent, and I'm like, I didn't even know what to say. I was like a kid in high school. But she's tall. She's bigger than I am. She fights 125, I think this is at, but she must be 5'8", 5'9". She's tall, very tall. And when you have the girls that go against the taller ones, the taller girl usually wins because of the lack of cage wrestling, right? So even if you get the girl that can wrestle a little bit better, they don't necessarily know how to cage wrestle, and the height just plays such a factor. Jazz has good hands, good length. I really, there's so many better spots here that I would take, but you know, it's not bad underdog shot on Jazz there.
Okay, so how about this, you guys? We don't want to BS it. If you guys are dying for us to tape this fight, throw it in the comments. Like, hey, I really want you guys to see it. Otherwise, I mean, that's what you're getting out of us. But if you really, really, really want us to, and we hear a lot of comments, we're happy to do it. We just didn't. It just didn't. I was like, meh, whatever. There's so much on this card. I didn't really. I don't know. It just didn't strike me as something I wanted to really put a lot of time into.
Yep. All right. Well, then moving on. Next one I like a lot.
Do you? Okay, why don't you start then?
All right. So next up we have Tony Gravely versus Simon Oliveira. I love this spot here. So we have a really seasoned veteran in Tony Gravely versus a UFC newcomer in Simon Oliveira. Just first and foremost, Simon just kind of throws stuff. He doesn't really have a rhyme or reason for his punches. He's super sloppy. He's got cardio issues, right? He gets tired just from striking, not even in the grappling exchanges. And then when you go back and you watch some of his older film, he's making the classic mistakes that we talk about, right? He's jumping for guillotines all the time. He's beating guys that are C-level fighters by jumping guillotines, by half chokes, like guys that just taking a paycheck don't even want to be in the ring. I think Gravely, he can wrestle. I really think he's going to knock him out with the hands. He's got pretty good, powerful striking, better camp, better cardio, better fight IQ. I think this is one of the easier ones on the card, Tony Gravely.
See, that's interesting. I think a lot of what you said I agree with. First of all, they like to talk about Gravely being a D1 wrestler, which he was. He was at Appalachian State. I think that was D1. So he was a college wrestler at Appalachian State. And then they said that he trained with the Virginia Tech wrestling team for a long time. And that's different than just showing up and wrestling here and there. Like that was, he was actually going to their practices. So it's kind of a big deal. That said, I'm not overly impressed with his wrestling. His wrestling in MMA is not phenomenal. Now, Brett Johns, who is a very good cage wrestler, is a Brit. And he made Gravely look like Gravely had never wrestled a day in his life. Like that was comical. It was comical. You have a college and all. I don't even know if he's All-American. You have a college wrestler who trained with a D1 team post career, just getting mauled, otherwise. Now, you also saw him have a hard time taking Nate Maness down, who is not a phenomenal wrestler, but he's tall and he's hard to take down. He fought Luke Sanders. Luke Sanders had a hard time taking him down as well. My point is that this is supposed to be some phenomenal wrestler, and I just don't know that I'm sold on his MMA wrestling. Now, he's known to be a wrestler, but then he's working on his hands, and he's starting to get comfortable with his hands. He gets knocked out by Maness. Okay, so now you think, okay, well, does he come out? Does he come out and wrestle? Well, all of his other losses before that Maness fight, who he was murdering, not murdering. It was a very close fight.
He almost put him out. Yeah, but
it was a very close round up until that point. Then he almost put him out in the last 10 seconds. So it wasn't like the whole round. It was like the last 10 seconds basically killed him. Maness came back and knocked Gravely out. So now you think, okay, so he has a wrestling base. His hands, are dangerous, and they're pretty good, I would say. He's a boxer wrestler, not like a Muay Thai guy. But then, so does he come out and wrestle, or does he come out and strike? If he comes out and wrestles, you've got, I think he has 7 or 8 losses on his record. All of those, I believe, except for the Maness one, not all of them, but he has multiple guillotine and rear naked choke losses. Okay. Oliveira has almost all of his wins come from guillotine. And so Gravely is the better fighter here, but I actually don't like his fight IQ. If you watch him against Brett Johns, he was doing well striking, and then he's the one that kept initiating the grappling, and then he kept getting out grappled. If you watch him against Nate Maness, he was probably the better wrestler and was doing well there, and then is trying to strike with him. And I don't know that he has the best fight IQ. I don't know that he knows what he's good at. And so I don't trust. I think Gravely should win this. I think Gravely is a better fighter. I don't trust Gravely not to get guillotined just because he doesn't know when he should wrestle and when he should strike. I think Oliveira has a very heavy Muay Thai style. It's like he's upright, he's bouncing legs, like he's a straight Muay Thai guy, and he throws a spinning back fist every 2.9 seconds. So his fight IQ is not good, and the most we've seen of him, his best
wrestling is horrible.
Wrestling is non-existent. The best outing we saw with him is Jose Alday, who is not a world beater, who's in combates. Again, I think Gravely is probably better everywhere. I just don't trust him. I don't trust his ability to not do something dumb. And I don't trust his ability to not get guillotined by somebody who he probably shouldn't get guillotined by. I just don't trust his IQ. And therefore,
if he gets guillotined, I'm quitting the show. That's it.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of good spots on this card. I think Gravely is the better fighter, but we talked about it before. My New Year's resolution is don't bet on bad fighters. And Gravely's not a bad fighter in terms of fighting. He's a bad fighter in terms of fight IQ and betting. And again, I think he's leagues probably better than Oliviera. I just don't trust him. So I think you're probably right. If you told me, well, who wins this? I'm like, Gravely does. I think Gravely absolutely wins it. If you ask me to put money on him, I'm like, no, there's so many other bets on this card. I'm not going to waste my money on a guy who makes bad decisions.
I'm going to tell you guys just to empty your kids' college fund on Gravely and Rayoni right away.
What about Jack Della?
Oh, and Jack Della. If you keep saying Della, he's not from Mexico. He's not out of Icon. He's from Australia. His name is Della Madelena.
So we can just say Jack Della.
Oh, my God. All right.
Do we have to say Della Madelena? Della.
You can say Della, but it's not Della, like De La Hoya.
It's Jack. We'll make it even shorter.
Jack. Well, that's
it is.
Twitter, but
Jack
okay.
Boy. Who do we have coming up next? Rayoni,
right,
Jasmine, Tony Gravely. We have Matt Frevola and Genaro Valdez. And Genaro Valdez is one of, 3 or 4 fighters on this card from Interim Gym, including Brandon Moreno, who is the flyweight champ fighting on this card. Valdez, I think he fought in Contender, and you see this a lot with these Mexican fighters because you saw it a lot with the Mexican boxers. And people like to talk about Julio Cesar Chavez, right? Everybody, he's the Mexican golden boy. He is,
and De La Hoya.
Yeah, and De La Hoya. So you've got Julio Cesar Chavez. He was like 90-0, 100-0 before he had his first loss. Nonsense. You cannot count. If you go back, there's boxrec.com. Go look at his first opponents, all right? I mean, he is fighting cabbies who are 0-0, 0-12, 0-52. I mean, he did not fight a guy with a winning record, I don't think, until his like 30th fight or something like that. I mean, come on. And that's what we see with a lot of these Mexican fighters coming up now in MMA. It's what we're seeing with Pete Rodriguez. I mean, he's fighting an Icon, which apparently is in Mexico, unbeknownst to myself. And he's
apparently.
fighting, and he's fighting cabbies. So, and then if you look at the records of even the guys who, I think one of his guys is like 6-5. And then you look at the 6 wins, and those are against guys who are 0-4. I mean, it's just, yeah. I mean, they're just not overly impressive. And that's Valdez. Now, he does have a couple better wins than what I'm giving him credit for. He's 10-0. Let me see. I'm pulling him up right now. His fight on the Contender Series was against Patrick White, who's 9-1.
But Patrick White had the worst fighters on his record out of anyone I've ever seen.
Pretty much ever, right?
That was the worst 9-1.
He may as well be a Mexican cab driver fighting these guys.
If you guys want to just spend a fun day, go back and watch all of the fights on Patrick White's record. They are literally pulling guys out of the stands and doing 2-minute professional rounds. It is the most sad thing you've ever seen in your life. So make a day of it.
Yeah. I mean, then you have, you fought a guy who's 6-4, 8-3, 1-2, 4-0, 0-2, 1-0, 1-0, 0-0, 0-0. I mean, he just has not fought super high level competition. Then you have Matt Frevola on the other side, who fought Terrence McKinney, who is just, dude, he's on a tear. He fought a decision against Arman Tsarukyan, who he lost.
Amazing.
He is. He's amazing. Tsarukyan absolutely dominated that fight, but Frevola had some decent moments in there, and he fought tough.
He lateral dropped him on his head.
Yeah. He beat Luis Pena, who's huge, who's tough. He beat Jalen Turner, had a draw with Lando Venata. got knocked out in a minute by Polo Reyes, which we'll get back to in a second. One on the Contender Series, Luke Flores. One before that, Raush Manflo, who is 8-1.
Just won the PFL title.
Yeah, he is tough, man. So Frevola's tough. Frevola's issue is he might be whiter than me. And what I mean by that is as unathletic as it gets. And he is tough. He's a grinder. We know he's going to stick it out, but he has a hard time with fast, dynamic fighters. Terrence McKinney, Reyes, they're just starching him early. They're coming out hot. Juan Valdez, his name isn't Juan Valdez, but every time I hear his name, Gennaro Valdez, I just think of that old commercial. But Valdez is not that guy. He's got a good one too. He really does. Good long strikes. He moves decently well on his feet. He is going to throw. He is going to clinch. He is going to get to the cage. I don't know that he's going to win in the grappling exchanges. And I just see Frevola just out grinding him and just minute and a half, 2 minutes in, this is Frevola's fight.
I totally agree. I actually think these guys are really, really similar. They're both like weird grinders, 1-2s, just wrestlers. I think Frevola is the better version than Gennaro Valdez. At first I was going to slam Frevola, but now I'm not loving this fight so much. I think Frevola should win and probably pretty handily here. Yeah, that's all I got. I think you hit it dead on. He struggles with the athleticism, but he's had tough fights against tough people.
Yeah. And the guys at Entrum are good. When you think of Mexico, you think of boxers, but Entrum is grapplers. That's a bunch of grapplers. And the guys are generally pretty good down there. We got Brandon Moreno, who's actually wasn't a good wrestler, but he actually used to train at Fight Ready years ago with Cejudo and them. And
you guys are gonna go downstairs?
Okay. He's going downstairs for Clingy. I'm gonna go over there and watch a movie or something.
Okay, sorry guys, we had a fight week break.
So, the guys down at Entrum are actually really good grapplers, and everybody used to say Moreno. He was there actually before I was at Fight Ready. Everybody would say his cage grappling was phenomenal and that he would just find people's backs. So you see that with Gennaro a little bit. They're going to have decent cage wrestling. It's not going to be, I don't think his is world beater-ish. And I don't see him winning it. So it probably goes 3 rounds. I think you bet over 1.5, you bet over 2.5. I think it's a safe bet.
I think so too. I think that they're both like they both just won't die. They know enough to make it last. I think that's a pretty safe bet there.
Yeah. Next up, we have Michael Morales and Trevin Giles.
So another Entrum guy.
Another Entrum guy right off the bat. And if you look at him, it's funny because they say that he is a Ecuadorian wrestling national champion. So that's impressive. But that is equal to a Jamaican bobsledder. Like I just don't.
Or an Egyptian Olympian wrestler.
Yeah. Well, some of those Egyptians are pretty solid. But, the funny thing about him is he's supposed to be they say he's a wrestler, but really in most of his fights, he's a striker. And he moves pretty well. He's light on his feet. He throws. He glides in and out. I like him. I don't love him. I think he's a little sloppy. I think he's a little loose. I think he could have a little bit of a tighter everything. His defense could be a little better. His chin could be a little bit lower. He could throw his hands a little bit harder and pull him back a little bit harder. But I think he's relatively pretty good. My issue with him in his striking is he gets hit when he comes in with check hooks like crazy. He just loves to get hit with a check hook. And then he'll clinch. I don't know that his cage wrestling is good enough yet where it needs to be against Giles. And his jiu-jitsu is pretty solid though. His jiu-jitsu is way above his striking is pretty clean and he moves better than his technical abilities. His wrestling is okay, but not overly impressive. But his jiu-jitsu is really solid. He scrambles well. Giles on the other side of this is you want to call him a kickboxer, but he looks like hands down.
A boxer.
Well, almost like a karate guy, hands down, floats in and out, kind of in and out of range, is not a traditional Muay Thai, a traditional Glory style, K1 style kickboxer. Hands right at his waist, floats in and out. But they always talk about his jab. They always talk about his hands, the commentators, but he really kicks first. He actually kicks a lot on the offensive as the fight starts. Defensively, he throws his hands as people come in. And then as he gets more and more comfortable, that's when you see him kind of leaning in, kind of rotating that right shoulder forward to fire in a jab and then fire in some punches. I wish Giles was just a little bit more classically trained with his defense and with his tucking his chin and his movement, because he has a really good knowledge of range. He gets out of there quickly. He covers range quickly, and he knows how to get out of range quickly. The deciding factor, I think, in this fight is his main counter weapon with his hands is a check hook. He wings that check hook as people are coming in from China, and Morales gets hit with a lot of check hooks coming in. Giles also has the power. He has the speed advantage. What Morales has is a 22-year-old, young, hungry, fast, scratch, claw, tooth and nail, advantage. But I don't think it's going to be enough against Giles. I think Giles is a little bit too savvy. I think his level of competition is way better. His strength of schedule is way better. And I think if Morales tries to wrestle Giles, I think he ends up getting out wrestled, actually. And I think the power and the speed of Giles is going to end up being the deciding factor, and I think he ends up winning this.
Okay, well, I'll just tell you, everyone refer to you more because you're a lot more fresh on these guys than I am. But I have been on the other side of the token on both of these guys. Now, Giles, I've been chasing for a long time through multiple fights. He crushed me on Dolidze. I won fading him against Dricus du Plessis. And then Morales, man, I taped Morales a lot, and I hated him. He looked like he had horrible cardio. I really wasn't a fan of his striking. It looked a little bit messy. And I will say on Contender Series, Morales impressed me like no other. He fought Nikolay Veretnikov, who is legitimately very good. And Dana White and the UFC were trying to give him a fight where he could win and go to the UFC because he is a little bit older. He's at King's MMA. So they tried to set him up. And Morales just would not die. He like you said, the 22-year-old, he pushed the gas, he took it to him, and then he started dumping the Russian on his head. Now, Nikolay is not a wrestling Russian, he's a striking Russian, but he's got good hips and good defense. The one knock with Trevin Giles forever and always has been his takedown defense, and especially his jiu-jitsu, right?
His jiu-jitsu, I agree with 100%. His takedown defense is – it's funny. His takedown defense is way worse than his offensive wrestling, but his bottom jiu-jitsu is scary.
Are you all still looking forward to a little monster guest appearance?
Yeah. Hey, guys, really quick, we want to have a little monster guest appearance.
Yo, what's happening, everybody?
Hello.
How's everyone doing?
Well,
What's up?
it's just me. So everyone on YouTube
you know.
and Santino here in person.
I mean, we always love a Santino in person.
Come on. Who doesn't love an in-person Santino? Except for a lot of people who hate an in-person Santino.
You know, I'm not one of those people, though.
I think it just depends on the day.
Depends on the day. Depends on the day.
Yes. We're feeling good. I got a solid workout in here. I got to beat up Brandon a little bit, so that was fun.
Nice.
He doesn't take anything, so it's really difficult to do that.
Do you have any spots on this card that you like in terms of betting? Who are your picks? Who are your winners on this card?
Oh, snap. I think that, honestly, is Kay Hansen the very first fight of the night?
We have no idea.
Fight.
Yeah, we have no idea. I really like that Kay Hansen for this matchup for her, even though she's going up against like a really super tough and larger opponent. Kay Hansen's jiu-jitsu is so slick. It's really tricky. You know, the 10th planet stuff, like if you don't train 10th planet, you're going to get caught in some sort of a web. So Definitely. And I think Cyryl's got this one in the main event for sure. I don't know. Like, I just got that vibe.
Okay. I
feel like Ngannou's pretty much out of it. Like, I feel like he's already, he's already promoting the boxing fights. Like, he's already trying to push himself out of his UFC contract. He's like, I'm just fighting it out. Like, I think he's just over it at this point. So I just don't see him as, like, emotionally invested in being the champion anymore like Ciryl is right now.
Okay. Well, nice. You heard it here first, folks. Vanessa's picks.
Let's go.
Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it.
See you, Vanessa.
All right. That's cool. No other capper goes farther for you guys. We have live UFC fighters.
We're live.
And we only, if we lose, we're not cappers. We're content creators. But if we win, we're cappers.
We're cappers. But, it's going back to that Morales fight. I like him. I actually do. I like him. I as I was taping him, I was pretty big on him winning against Giles. And I've always been kind of I've always been a little derogatory toward Giles. And I think a lot of that comes down to, I thought James Krause, a 155, 170 pounder on 12 hours notice, fought him and gave him a really good fight. And I was just so unimpressed with Giles for that, because I just thought, man, like, and he ended up winning that fight, but I was just really unimpressed. But
close. Yeah.
Yeah. But watching back, Bevan Lewis. All right. He looked really clean against Bevan Lewis. He looked good against Roman Dolidze, and Roman Dolidze is a wild, kind of hard guy to fight, and he looked solid. And I actually thought against Duplessis, he
was looking good.
He was looking good, and
he wasn't.
What ended up getting him was his basics. Is he threw, and he thought he could get away faster than he could, but his head wasn't offline. And as he backed up, he got hit with a straight right instead of moving head offline, hands up, whatever. And, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. But he has got a decent record. He's 14-3. He's got wins over Roman Dolidze, Bevan Lewis, James Krause, Antonio Braga Neto, James Bocnovich, who I don't know, but was in the UFC, Ryan Spann, Ike Villanueva, Brendan Allen, before Brendan Allen and them were in the UFC, fought him in LFA. He really does have a solid record. And the guys he's losing to are Zach Cummings and Gerald Meerschaert, both by guillotine, which is definitely something. And then Duplessis, which is by knockout. I just think that the nerves, the adrenaline, the arena, and the inexperience of Morales, I think that's going to be the difference when those lights are on.
We're going to end up splitting on this one, because it's as weird as it sounds. It just seems to me like Morales rises to the occasion. That was a spot for him to lose on Contender Series, fighting one of the tougher guys he could have fought. And he ended up drowning that guy and suplexing him and running him into the ground. And that Russian could fight 3 hard rounds. I actually think this kid is going to, I think this kid has a star quality about him. I think he's got a star power. I think he's going to go in there and drown Trevin Giles. And the biggest thing, I don't know if you mentioned it, Giles is dropping down to 170 for this fight. This is not a 185 fight.
Yeah, but honestly, I think that's probably better for him. I think
better shape.
Yeah, I think he'll be in better shape, and I think he's always been a little soft at 185, and I think it's probably a better move. And the thing that really gets me about this is that I think this is one of those ones where you see this a lot, where fighter A beats fighter, B, and then fighter B goes on to have a successful UFC career, and fighter A loses his next 3 and is out. I'm not saying Trevin Giles is going to lose his next 3 after this and is out. I think Morales is going to have the much better career. I think that this fight at this point, and again, it's styles. It's styles make fights. He gets hit so much with that check hook, and Giles wings a check hook. That is his moneymaker, is that check hook. He throws it. And just check hook for check hook, that does not fare well with him. The other thing is,
would that be amazing if that's exactly how the fight finishes?
I am not kidding. I'm calling it right there. I also think that if it ends up in a body lock competition, I think Giles is going to win that offensive wrestling battle. I think he's going to re-wrestle him and actually get those body lock takedowns. We saw that against Bevan Lewis. We saw that somewhere else. I think defensively, if he gets put down, that's where he really is going to have problems. If he winds up on his back more than once, he's probably going to lose this fight. I just don't know that that's going to happen here. And I think watch that left hand of Trevin Giles on this one.
So you're going Giles. I'm going to go Morales to drown him.
Okay. I like it. Next up, we have got, and actually, what are the odds on that? Let me see. Trevin Giles is a slight dog at plus 111 right now. Morales is minus 136.
Strange odds, but okay.
Yeah, kind of randomly weird. Topuria is minus 700. Jourdain is plus 450. What else are we talking about? Valdez and Frevola.
I'll eat it up.
Yeah, Valdez is plus 155. Frevola is minus 190. And I think that's everything we've talked about right now. So moving on, we have Rodolfo Vieira, Wellington Turman. What do you got here? Is it as clean cut as it seems?
Well, what does it seem?
I mean, Vieira is a huge favorite. I think he might be the biggest favorite on the card, right? Or is Topuria?
I have a hard time believing. Well, Topuria by far.
Oh, geez, he's not. For some, I was completely looking at something else. Honestly, I must have been looking at the Topuria odds because I was thinking those were the odds for him. He's actually not. He's a minus 230. Turman's a plus 180. For some reason, I thought it was way more lopsided than that. My mistake.
Yeah, I see, and I think these odds, weirdly, are exactly about where they should be, because I see this fight could play out so many different ways. Now, if you guys have been with me a long time, you guys know how much I love Wellington Turman. That's my boy. That's my guy. And here's why. In the entire UFC, I mean, I can almost name on one hand how many guys actually have excellent cage wrestling. To me, it's Sean Brady, it's Pat Sabatini, and it's Wellington Turman. Really, those are the guys. Wellington Turman's cage wrestling is excellent. He's a gamer. He's always in your face. He's got pretty good striking, and he can fight 3 hard rounds. And that is what I love about him. Now, unfortunately, on the other side, he's fighting Rodolfo Vieira, right? Who is a jiu-jitsu legend. He's an athletic freak, probably been on all the supplements known to man for a long time.
Acai.
Now, here's the problem that I see going on. I almost like Wellington to win this fight purely on the feet. But here's the problem that I see. I think Wellington, weirdly enough, if he wanted to offensively wrestle and take Rodolfo down, I think he could win this fight so easily by drowning Rodolfo, having good enough top control, and just having good MMA grappling, right? Rodolfo's not a crazy guard player. He's a top player, pressure passer. I think he could wear him out, but I think just the accolades, just the physique of Rodolfo is going to scare Wellington from trying to offensively wrestle. And then it's going to force it to wherever Rodolfo wants it, right? Does Rodolfo want to stand and strike, which he looked really good in his last fight? Or does Rodolfo want to wrestle and show how good his jiu-jitsu is? I think Rodolfo, the things that made him great was his aggression and that quick submission. I think if he hangs back and he tries to pick Wellington apart, he's going to have a really tough fight on his hands. I think if Rodolfo wants to wrestle, I could definitely see him submitting Wellington, just because Wellington does give up his back. So to me, this is a dangerous one to bet on because I can just see it going so many different ways. I think the odds are maybe a little bit wider than I think they should be. I think it's a very close fight. I love Wellington's wrestling and his striking. I love Rodolfo's jiu-jitsu. I always go cardio and fight IQ, so I would go Wellington.
I could not agree more. Just spot on. I guess the only thing that I might disagree on sorry guys, I'm congested. I'm getting over COVID, as we mentioned. The only thing I would disagree on, and not only that I do disagree on, we're just talking. I don't know that Vieira offensively gets the fight down to the ground unless he just times a really good blast double or something like that and puts him down. But if he pushes him to the cage, I don't know that he's going to win the wrestling battle there. Wellington has a great straight right hand, straight overhand. I mean, look what he did to Sam Alvey, threw the spinning back fist, turned it into an elbow, cut his face, just ripped him apart. I don't know that I'm as big on his cage wrestling as you are because of that Sam Alvey fight. That fight spent a lot of the time in the clinch on the cage, and Alvey's a decent wrestler, don't get me wrong. But I actually,
he's a good counter wrestler on the cage.
He is.
He's a veteran.
Yes. But I expected Wellington to get that fight to the ground more easily, and he would kind of flash, touch the ground and pop back up. And so I wasn't as big on that. The thing is that Wellington's tough. Like you said, he can fight for 3 rounds, and it really depends. We talked about this a little bit with Gravely. Does Vieira fall in love with his hands? Okay. And that's the thing. Grappling is hard. We saw that what happened 2 fights ago. He got tired, gassed out, ended up getting submitted because he forced it so hard, couldn't get it, and then just faded out. His last fight, he spent most of the fight striking up until he kind of lulled him to sleep, got the takedown, and then of course he got the submission. Now, he's been working with Manos. What is Manos' last name? He has come up to Fight Ready quite a bit. He's Pitbull's karate coach. Manos Matos, I forget. One of the wildest things you've ever seen. First of all, Manos is just awesome. Super nice guy. He's actually, when it comes to karate, he's one of the few guys that I would say, this dude knows what he is doing. I would have any of our guys train with him any day of the week and not expect some dumb karate shit to occur. Now, he did one of the most craziest things ever with Pitbull. Right before Pitbull knocked out Michael Chandler, Pitbull spent, quite a few weeks up there with us. And I mean hundreds and hundreds of reps of Pitbull moving in, moving out, moving in. And Manos would hold his hand right here with his glove on, literally right here, right up to his throat. And Pitbull would just snipe that right hand at him hundreds of times in a row. And Manos would catch it, and he would fall to the ground, and he would tumble out, and we would all just stand there and look at him like, this dude is doing a lot for his guys. I'm looking around the room going, there's not a single person in this room who I'm letting punch me in the throat like that, not once, let alone 50 times a day, 100 times a day, 7 days. I mean, it was nuts. But anyway, Manos is great. Vieira's striking looks a lot better working with him, but does he get lulled into that striking battle? And if he does, he's going to get knocked out. If he gets too comfortable, he is getting knocked out. Smart money says he gets the takedown, he gets a rear naked choke, or he gets a takedown, he gets a head and arm triangle. I think Wellington gets the upset, and I don't care if I'm wrong. The other thing, though, if you want to go smart, Vieira has never had a fight go the distance. He's either gonna win inside the distance or lose inside the distance. The smart money here is the fight does not go the distance, and I think that's an easy play. I think the crazy money is not the crazy money, but I think the dog money is Wellington, and I think he's a good dog.
I think he's a great dog. And you got to remember too, his mentor is the new UFC champion. It's Glover Teixeira. That's who he works with day in, day out. Big physical guy with good jiu-jitsu, who hits very hard. I mean, kind of a similar style to Rodolfo if you really think about it. I love Wellington. I think he's as good of a dog as you can have. He fights hard, good cardio, good jiu-jitsu, good cage wrestling, good striking. And you're right. The safe money is probably fight does not go the distance. He's a little bit chinny. He can be caught, and so it can Rodolfo. And cardio is king. I say you got to go cardio and fight IQ.
I like it. Next up, we have the most fun human in the UFC.
Andre Filaho.
Yeah. Michel Pereira. All right. I mean, this dude, how much fun is this guy? I mean, like, he is a fun guy. He's fighting Andre Fialho, who's at Sanford MMA now. Pereira, is he in the States? Where's he at? I don't even know if he's in this. I don't think so. I think he's still in Brazil. Some of the most fun fights. I mean, backflips, crazy shit. But that crazy shit gets him tired. If he didn't get tired, I don't know that anybody is going to beat him. So what are your thoughts on Michel Pereira and Filaho? Fialho?
Yeah, this is actually an interesting one. I remember when this fight got announced as a late replacement fight, everybody was like, okay, lock. This is easy as it comes. Michel Pereira. I don't like him. I hate how he fights, and it's not the backflips that drive me crazy. It's him being as big as he is, right? So there's cardio problems there. He fights like an ape. And same thing I had with Royval. He just throws so much out there without actually doing anything. And that's my big problem with Pereira. Now, on the other side, Fialho, I actually think is a really smooth striker. We talked about his eyes, right? Eyes. He sees things incredibly well. Now, usually when you look at somebody's record and you see 15 first-round knockouts, you go, man, this guy's just a crazy, insane brawler, and he's just knocking everybody out. But with Fialho, that's not really the case. A lot of times it's him slipping off and catching people with punches that they don't see coming. He's hitting people from crazy angles, and he's got just some God-given power. He trains at Sanford MMA. He looks, the big question mark for me is going to be his wrestling. I don't know how good or how poor his wrestling is, but I think you have two guys with cardio problems. I think you have two guys that fancy themselves strikers. I don't think it's a bad idea at all to this would be the first and only time in my entire life I'll recommend a prop, but Fialho by KO is not a bad prop at all. I think he's by far the more technical, beautiful striker. Now we'll see if Pereira can make this dirty in the second and third round, but honestly, I could see an easy upset here. Really, that by KO is interesting to me. And I mean, I guess it shouldn't be so interesting. I'm looking at Pereira's record now. Dusko knocked him out in 2018. And that is the only knockout on his record. All right. That I can see. And I was where you are on Pereira when he fought Nico Price. And I think, I don't know if I thought Pereira was worse or Nico Price was better. And in Nico Price, the more I watch him, I mean, he's tough, but I just am not. He's bad, but he doesn't go away. And that's what almost won him the fight. That's it. Yep. That's what almost won him the fight in a few areas. But I think Pereira, for as wild as he is, I actually don't think he's bad. I think he has cardio issues. I think his grappling is not bad. His takedowns are not bad. They're not. I think the craziness makes us overlook the rest of his skill set, and he actually moves well. He actually has really good eyes. For as wild as he is, he times stuff really well. He sees it. He knows that stuff is going to land. And if he didn't, and I don't even know if he has cardio issues. It sounds dumb, but he's doing backflips in a cage that's going to tire everybody out. He has stupidity issues like that. We know. I mean, he just does wild stuff that completely gasses him out. But I think a lot of that is just how dynamic he is and just the poor decision making. I don't know that he is actually, and the weight cut. I remember he cuts way too much weight. We were in Canada cutting weight with him when he fought Tristan Connolly. And that was a huge upset. And Connolly was, took the fight on a week notice, and we were in the sauna with him, and we're actually we were working out the week of, and some of us went in the sauna. I don't even remember. It was Hunter Azure did not go in the sauna because he wasn't cutting weight yet. Pereira was in the sauna cutting weight like 2 days out. I mean, it was nuts how much weight he cut. And I think that is a big issue with him cardio wise. But I think he's gotten better. I think he's done better. I like
Pereira to win this, and I think it might even be by decision, which is kind of crazy. But this is one of those fights where I don't know that I would touch a prop, because this could go winner by knockout, either of them. They could both get tired, and then that knockout power is gone, and Pereira is just leaning on him on the fence, or gets a takedown, and they're not really submission finishers, and then it just goes a decision. This is one of those fights where I don't really want to touch, because both of these guys could win any which way. And I actually think Pereira is better than people give him credit for. And I think he actually has a lot of good decision making mixed in with some unbelievably, I wouldn't even say bad decision making, just wild decision making. And I think that's why we sleep on his skills as much as we do. But I think Pereira is actually solid. I think his clinch game is solid. His elbows are solid. He controls the cage well. I think I could see Pereira winning this. I don't know if I want to touch this one. This is one of those other ones. This is a Gravely one. I really like Gravely. I think Gravely wins it. I just don't know if I want to bet money on it, because I don't trust Gravely's IQ. And I think with this fight, I don't know if I trust Fialaho's grappling and wrestling, but I also don't trust Pereira's decision making. So this is one of those, again, it comes down to I'm not betting a bad fighter. I don't know that there's a play here that I really want to spend my money on, because then I think you're just betting just to bet.
And yeah, that's for some people. It's funny, in the matchup against Muslim Salikov, I loved Pereira. Michael Pereira. I still would. And what's weird is I think Muslim is a lot better fighter than Filaho is, but he's just old and slow. And those elbows from the clinch and the knees from the clinch, he's going to big body him, and he was going to beat Muslim. But Filaho, he likes to fight at range. He's a Sanford mainstay. Sean Soriano's in his corner. Henry Hoof's in his corner. Like, he is a Sanford mainstay, but he fights great at distance. He slips well. He sees things. He uses kicks beautifully. So mine was never a knock necessarily on Michel's fighting ability, but I guess the angle that I'm coming from was, I think they're both talented strikers. So I can see this being just a straight up kickboxing match, and then it's who outpoints him, who wins. The other thing that I remember I talked about before is a lot of times Michel fights a lot going backwards. He fights a lot backing up, back to the cage, sprints in, and he's back out. Well, the one thing that I could see is Andre walking him down the entire time, slip and rip, picking him apart little by little, and I could see him winning a decision. If Michel likes to keep it standing in the first round, who knows? He may be too tired to start the grappling exchanges in rounds 2, round 3, right? Then Andre's got 2 rounds in the bank, and it goes to a decision. So I'm with you. I think a lot of people think this is the easiest lock victory on the card. Honestly, watching it, I think we don't have enough good film on Filaho to know who he really is, but he trains at a good gym. He's a good striker. He's fought good competition, and they both have cardio problems. So really, at the end of the day, it's who messes up first, and I don't like my money behind either person that has cardio problems. Yeah,
I'm with you. I think, gun in my head, I think Pereira wins.
I agree.
I think I think he will. I think it'll turn into a striking affair, and then I think that round 1 is striking affair, and I think later in round 1 and going into round 2, I think it turns into being a clinch fest and a push on the cage fest, and you see that a lot with 2 really good strikers. I mean, Ngannou and Derek Lewis, they didn't want to engage because they both know how dangerous the other person is, and I think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see them not engaging because they're dangerous. I think we're going to see them engaging quite a bit early, and then going, let's grapple. This is getting a little too dicey. So I don't like my money on this fight, but I actually think there's going to be moments in it that are going to be a fun fight to watch.
I can't wait to watch the fight.
Yeah, but I think there will possibly be some boring moments as well. I guess that's good for that one. Next up, we've got our co-main event. Well, co-main event. We have Cody Stamann and Sayed Nurmagomedov. And Cody Stamann is 19-4. Sayed is 14-2. And I believe that I saw that he was not related to Habib Nurmagomedov,
Correct.
but I think Nurmagomedov is like Smith over there.
They're really good friends, but not related. And
Yeah.
like Khabib would be in his corner or coach him, but they're not related.
Yeah. So we've got Cody Stamann's last outing was against Merab Dvalishvili, who was just a tank. Lost to Merab, lost to Jimmy Rivera, beat Brian Kelleher, who took that fight short notice. That was like a couple days after Cody's brother died, though. Draw with Yadong Song, beat Alex Perez, got knee barred by Aljo Sterling, and then he's got a couple other wins down the line. Nurmagomedov, on the other hand, he's 14-2. He's got a win over Mark Striegel, left hook. Lost a close fight to Raoni. And then he's got a few wins beforehand. Ricardo Ramos, body kick. Justin Scoggins, decision. Luis Nogueira, decision. And then he lost again against Magomed Bibulatov, who was in the UFC for a while, who's phenomenal, a while ago. And Nurmagomedov, despite the name, isn't really known for his grappling. He's known for throwing a spinning back fist every second of a fight. He throws a left jab and then immediately spins into a right spinning back fist. And then he does it again and again and 5,000 more times. Dynamic, long, hits hard, but isn't off balance. It's not like he's swinging, knocking himself off balance. Just throws well. He has really good footwork. He doesn't get tired. He knows how to wrestle well. His defensive wrestling is solid. And I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but he's tall. Cody Stamann is durable. He's tough. He's short. He throws heat. I think his wrestling is a little overrated. I think it's decent, but I'm not like, I don't think it's MMA world beater. I don't think it's Sean Brady on a cage, worthy. I don't see Stamann really being able to get his hands on Sayed much. And I don't know if it's a finish because Cody Stamann is just durable as shit. But just the volume of Sayed Nurmagomedov, I don't know how he keeps it. And he keeps it for 3 rounds. And it's constant. And it doesn't even look like he's tired. And he is throwing. He's not pop shotting. Like I said, he's not throwing everything from the hip, but he is throwing. And the volume alone, how dynamic he is. He does stuff well. He's on balance, and that footwork, between the footwork and the range, I think we see Cody Stamann hitting air a lot.
I totally agree with you on this one. It's funny, on my dark days, I'll fall into MMA Twitter and I see people saying it's the Russian tax. It's the Russian tax. Everyone's going to fall for the Russian tax. And I just disagree on this one. I love Cody Stamann. Cody Stamann has made me a ton of money. I love the guy. I think he's durable. I think he's very well-rounded, does everything well. He's the kind of guy you would love your money behind. And I don't think he wins this fight for exactly the reasons that you're saying. Somebody else asked me, well, do you still like Sayed Nurmagomedov because he spins a lot? He might be one of the only guys that actually spins and it looks effective. And he's not out of position. He's not off balance. He's not falling over. His spins are precise, and he is right back to position. Like you said, he's got cardio for days. He's got great defensive wrestling, and that length is hard to navigate. A lot of Cody Stamann's wins are against guys close to his size or his stature, right? Whereas Sayed is he's a very tall guy. I think you just got to keep it simple. Don't overthink this one. I really like Sayed here.
You were talking about spinning. We see people spinning when they're in danger. It's kind of it's a safety net. They throw a kick, opponent moves away, and so they have to spin to pull themselves back around so they don't get hit. Or they throw a left hook, they're off balance, so they spin for the return. Sayed does it offensively. He throws his jab and gets narrow as he does it. It's a setup. He's doing it and they're not kicks. We see a lot of spinning elbows, a lot of spinning back fists. Again, like I said, defensively, he does it and he'll do it. But if he doesn't find the read, you see him wanting to spin, but then he kind of will come back. I think he spins too damn much for my liking. I'd like to see him do it a little bit less, and but he does it well, and he is just a freaking tornado of nonstop movement, of solid stuff. But he looks classically trained. His hands are in the right place. He actually looks, as weird as it is, footwork and punching like a classically trained boxer, which is weird because he throws so much spinning stuff, which is just not, of course, boxing at all. But if you watch him, the way that he throws his jabs, the way that he throws his crosses, his footwork, the way that he cuts left and then will come back right and then stick a jab, and he'll use his footwork and his jab to set up that spin. He'll cut off to his left quite a bit to get his opponent to try and cut him off and then spin into it. It's really, really, really nice to see. His fight with Barcelos was really close. And man, I'm on him. I'm on the Sayed train. I think he wins it. I think it's probably a decision. And yeah, like you said, don't overthink this one, guys.
Boom. All right, now the true co-main event.
The true co-main event. So I'm a little afflicted on this, not in the sense of what I think is going to happen, but I usually don't talk about the guys I train. But I'm not cornering Davidson. I'm not there with him. Henry is there. Captain is there, and his coaches from Brazil are there. So the one thing I just want to say about this is we've trained Figgy for a while now. All right. He's been out with us 9 weeks-ish or so. And he is so much better than people think he is. His wrestling is so much better than people think. And his jiu-jitsu is infinitely better than what people will think. I am good at jiu-jitsu, and I have rolled and trained a lot of jiu-jitsu with Figuerdo, and it is really, really good. And I don't mean just being explosive. You've trained with him. You've rolled with him. He has a really, really good butterfly guard. He has a really good defensive guard. He moves well. What I would say his biggest issue in his fights is he just makes bad decisions. He jumps to stuff. We asked him in his last fight, like, why he rolled through to defend on the, when Brandon Moreno had his back. And he said, well, there's an ankle lock that I could have gone to there, and that's what I was going for, and didn't work out for me. Well, that was just a bad decision. And we, all camp, have been getting him out of jumping to stuff. And he just jumps and dives for wild stuff because it's fun for him. He just enjoys it. I think he's so much better than people even know. And that's weird to say with what is he, 20-1, 20-2 record, something like that, or with a lot of finishes. And I really think he's very good. I think he's a lot better than what we saw in the last Moreno fight. And I expect really good things of him. With Moreno, I think people are talking about he has been training with Nonito Donaire a lot for this. All right. So I think it was Donaire, if I'm not mistaken. They say he's done a lot of rounds with him. I think that he is going to be a very similar Brandon Moreno to who we saw before. And, kind of I'll sum it up. I think if Figgy goes out there and just stays patient and imposes his will, oh my gosh, he is, I don't even think it's a fight. I think he's just going to demolish Moreno.
Well, beautiful. I don't really want to have a take on this one. I think sit back and enjoy that one, guys. Let's see how that one plays out.
I might have to edit this out then.
Well, it's an interesting fight. Naturally, I don't really like to bet on main events. I don't usually like to bet on title fights. I don't usually like to bet on 5-rounders. Well, this is all three. We have a trilogy match. There's just too many things that I don't like. I like Brandon's. First of all, I love his cardio. I love his wrestling. I love his jiu-jitsu. I love his willingness to stand and stay in the pocket. But you have the death touch of Davison. When I had the pleasure of training with him one day, we worked some back take stuff and some jiu-jitsu. I was fully expecting to maul him. And we went to war for, 20 minutes or whatever it was. And man, it was so much fun. So you're right. His jiu-jitsu is way better than people think. I touched him and I said, we're not even the same species. He is just a physical specimen. It is crazy. And you look at Moreno on the other side, who is, he's just not the same. He's not the same. He's like me. And so I'm just excited to see the fight play out. I don't really want to choose a winner. I don't know who's going to win. I think sit back and enjoy that one, guys. We should make plenty of money right before then.
I like it. Now, getting to our actual main event, do you still not want to bet on this one?
Okay, this one I want to bet on.
I think you want to bet. I think you want to bet on this one. I love this spot. We all know what Ngannou has. He has power. I mean, it is insane, that dude's power. And I don't want to be too one-sided here, but, you know, I mean, he is a physical just specimen. You saw him in person. That dude should not be fighting. He should be making millions and millions of dollars, either as the heavyweight champ boxing or as the best linebacker the NFL has ever seen. I mean, that guy is physically imposing. The thing, though, is that with that, and he's gotten way more polished over the years. He is more patient, but he still marches into his punches with his chin up and just swings. And if he can land that punch, I don't even know if he lands it, if he knocks Gane out. I mean, we saw Derek Lewis land clean on Gane, and Gane like blink and get back to what he was doing. So, but I think that needs to be his route. And then we've seen some weird fights with him where he doesn't engage. Again, Derek Lewis, we saw that, where we saw him get knocked out against Stipe. He had some cardio issues, kind of panicked, and then he got weird against Derek Lewis. Didn't really do much, lost, was very timid. Ciryl Gane moves like he's 140 pounds. His striking, holy shit, is it unbelievable. He is light on his feet, but more than anything, his fight IQ is through the roof. He understands how to fight heavyweights. He doesn't point fight. He doesn't go in there swinging. He will go in there and he will stay kind of in range, feint, move away, has a lightning fast jab, and then immediately shells up and finds his exit. Then when he throws hands, he is immediately finding his exit and covering as he does it, because he knows heavyweights want to pull that trigger and he's swinging. But man, he uses his front kick, his little slap kicks on the outside to draw people in. He will switch his stance. He throws that left middle kick. He'll switch his stance, throw his right jab, and then he'll come back. He definitely, his southpaw stance is a drawing stance. He gets people to kind of mess and move. And one thing that he can do is he can hand fight with that lead hand against an orthodox fighter, which Ngannou is, and he can really take away their ability to throw by hand fighting that lead hand. And he snipes a fast jab in there. Then he switches back and will fire, more standard combinations. His wrestling is phenomenal. His jiu-jitsu is phenomenal. But again, more than anything, he is fast. He moves well. He's got a chin. He does all of the right stuff. He has cardio. But what wins this fight for what I think is a lock, which is weird for me to say on a main event, weird for me to say on a heavyweight main event, weird for me to say with somebody like Ngannou who can just put your lights out, is his fight IQ. He knows how to fight heavyweights, and he doesn't fight like other heavyweights fight heavyweights. Let's swing and go and see who does what. He knows when he throws, he has got to shell up and be ready for that barrage of attack afterwards.
Yeah, I think the UFC is over in GANNOU. They're giving Ciryl Gane the big cage, plenty of room to move. I think the price for him is he's on a deep discount. I think really he should be a -3, -400 favorite. I think he is a million times over the better fighter. I think he's a lot younger than Ngannou. Ngannou's 35, 36, something like that. I just think he's better than Ngannou everywhere. When we watched that first Stipe fight, we said, man, Ngannou is lacking skills in so many areas. And then we watched the second Stipe fight where you had to know, like, Stipe cannot avoid this forever. I mean, if he's just going to get tagged with one, and that's going to be all she wrote. Ngannou learned remotely how to defend one takedown and then keep calm. And now we think he's a world beating, like he's just changed and he's just an incredible fighter. I think deep down, he's still the same fighter. We've seen him look unimpressive before, and we've seen him look impressive. But against a guy like Gane, who doesn't make mistakes, the guy is unbelievable. We could be wrong. He could get put out with one punch, but really a -145, -150 for the night and day better fighter. It's not even close. It's such a deep discount. Like you said, I hate main events. I hate 5-rounders. I hate championship fights. But to me, this one is way too good to pass up. And Ngannou's mind is on other things. He's doing all kinds of different stuff. I think he's slow. I think he's a little rigid. I just think Gane is, man, this is a great spot with Gane. That'll be a great way to cap off your night. All your parlays can end right there with Gane. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I like the spot. We say it all the time. The better fighter usually wins. And I mean, look at boxing. Look at anything. Hail Marys don't win football games most of the time. Sometimes they do. Sometimes you're just Hail Marying it. You're just throwing the ball down the field and you get a couple touchdowns. Sometimes you are swinging for the fences and you're knocking people out. That's going to work most of the time. Not most of the time, some of the time. Most of the time, the better fighter wins, the better team wins, the better technician wins, the better basics win. And, you run the ball 3, 4, 5 yards at a time, and you move the chains again and again and again, and you break the defense down, and you start picking people apart. And the longer the fight goes, the more the punchers start swinging and punching because they know that they've got to. And then generally, the better it goes for the technician.
Yeah, if you guys like to live bet, wait till after round 1 and then empty your kid's college fund 2 times on the Ciryl Gane line. But I like him before. I think he's going to be at his deepest discount before the fight. I love it. Out of Ciryl Gane, Rayoni, Jack. Who else did we say? We like Saeed. That's a great 4-person parlay right there.
Yep. I like it.
All right.
Well, that is it. Those are our picks. Man, this is going to be a good week. I think we say that, and all of the weeks that we're really, really happy about our picks, they end up being hard sells. And then the ones that we're like, man, I don't know, this is a bad card, let's not bet on it. We end up making our best picks, our most money.
So we called so many good ones last weekend on a horrible card. So we're going to see how this week goes.
I know we're going to go 0 for 74 and we only bet 73. So, but I mean, I think a lot of the money on this card is pickable. I don't think it's as many toss ups. I like the wins for more. Last week, I like the over or the under on a lot more. This one, I definitely like some victors. So, that's it. We will see you guys. You'll see us
on TV.
Before we see you. And like I said, if you guys have anything to add, definitely hit us up in the comments. Like our channel, please. Subscribe to us, please, and then come check out our Patreon because again, we talk about the fights here, but we're not betting on all of these. If you want to see our actual bets, and last week we freaking killed it. I think I had one bet that was off. That was the Brito fight. And that one probably could have gone either way. I mean, that was kind of a weird, not the Brito, I'm sorry, the Bontarin. I did not bet Brito. I on the pod, I said that I thought Brito would win, but I did not bet him. What I bet was Bontarin. And that's what I meant in terms of our, yeah, I thought he won that. I thought it was weird that they gave it to Royval, but that was my only loss. I had like 9 or 10 wins. Other than that, go check out the Patreon. Link is below. We will see you guys next time and have fun watching these fights.
Thanks, guys. Peace.